Steeler fans, what's going on? This is Jeff Harvin, editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, with you as always for our flagship podcast, A Standard is a Standard. And before I bring in my co-host, Lance Williams, I've got to say, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I'm actually reclined back in my recliner. Life is good, man. It's a beautiful day here in the Mid-Atlantic. I got a full night's sleep last night for one of the first times ever. Feel great. Everything's going great. Lance and I were texting each other earlier today, and it was one of those situations like, hey, man, what are we going to talk about? And like, I don't know. There's really nothing going on, and I don't know. Well, there's a lot going on now. But before we get into all that, I want to bring in my kombucha-loving friend, Lance. I know you're loving that
Yes,
kombucha, man.
yeah. We were going to talk about kombucha. We were also going to figure out how to come out with our own black and gold version of kombucha,
Mm,
where I'm
I
sure no one in Pittsburgh drinks kombucha.
I bet a lot of people in Pittsburgh never even heard of kombucha, to be totally honest with you.
Hey, I don't want to talk bad about my home, my birthplace, but I remember going back to Pittsburgh in the 90s because I went to school in California. A lot of you know I went to California, Berkeley. Then I came back to Pittsburgh to go to grad school at Carnegie Mellon. So, I've been out in California a while. Had eaten some tofu,
Mhm.
expanded my horizons. I tried to find some tofu in Pittsburgh in
Oh,
the 90s. It was absolutely hilarious. I went to Coons Market on the north side, and the guy said, "To what?" And I knew exactly where I was. I'm back home in Pittsburgh. Let me just go get some pork.
yeah. Well, I'm glad that your fermented eating habits are improving, and we're gonna get to the Steelers talk. And there's a lot of negativity out there right now. And Lance convinced me of this. I was like, we titled the show a certain thing, and when JuJu finally shut up Antonio Brown, we are gonna get to that. But let's talk about the positives first. Lance, I agree with you. After hindsight's always 2020, and the positive is that if you were on social media today, whether it was Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you saw one of the most, in my opinion, one of the most remarkable sights I've ever seen in my life. And that is Ryan Shazier doing 3-foot box jumps. Now, he was assisted. There was a trainer behind him holding his waist, and I'm sure he gave him just a little bit of balance. I don't think he was lifting him at all. But just think about it. Ryan Shazier 16 months ago, I believe is what I saw was the exact timeline, was unable to move his legs, was told he might never walk again, and he's doing 3-foot box jumps. I'm going to go on note by saying that I would say that a good, I'm thinking between 80% of our U.S. population, healthy as can be, could not do a 3-foot box jump. Now, I know he's a supreme athlete, but he was paralyzed from the waist down 16 months ago and is doing 3-foot box jumps. It's remarkable. It is amazing how far he has come. I don't want to talk about is he or won't he play football again. I really don't want to talk about it. I'm just taking everything for what it's worth. And right now, what it's worth is how awesome is that? Lance, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to concur, Jeff, and I'm going to even say it by saying it this way. I don't think my fat ass could jump up 3 feet and grab a bottle of bourbon. And I love bourbon. So
Maybe that's your
kudos to
problem.
Ryan Shazier. That might be my problem. I don't think I could jump up and grab $1 million, even if I wanted to, without running and doing it. I mean, look, his physical as an athlete, he's just off the charts, and this just goes to just what he is, what he's made of, what his fiber is made of, type of family he comes from, the type of individual he is, his faith in God, everything. It says everything. Ryan Shazier is, if you want to see the picture of a grown man, of a man in the dictionary, he's the picture of a man. He's faithful. He's everything. I mean, he's just a man. He just encapsulates what a grown man is. And unfortunately, we're going to be talking about an individual who doesn't embody that.
Yeah, and Shazier and his fiance, soon to be wife, just had their second son. I'm sure that's a ton of motivation for him in his rehabilitation. I'm so glad the Steelers took care of him, that his contract told over to 2019. They already said that he's not going to play this year, so that's not even on the table. But man, if this guy continues with this trajectory, he's going to be not only back to living a healthy life, and that was at one point the talking point was as long as he can get back to where he was in terms of being able to play with his kids and running around and and at this point it's kind of one of those situations where shoot, that might be that might be the floor. Who knows what the ceiling is for him in his rehab? It's just remarkable. Kudos to the doctors that helped him in Cincinnati right after the accident, the injury. Kudos to all the people that have helped him. And I guarantee you, Steeler fans out there, he feels the love. I guarantee he does, and it's probably super motivating for him. So keep that up. Um,
The last thing I'd say to that, Jeff, this just is just an example of, faith in action.
yeah.
This is what it is. If you want to see what it looks like, look at Ryan Shazier.
Absolutely. And you know what? You don't have to have that same faith. You don't have to believe what he believes, but at the same time, you have to respect what he believes and what he thinks. And if it's motivating for him, then absolutely amen to that. Now, as Lance alluded to, and I hate just leaving the Ryan Shazier story because it's so massive in so many ways to me. But the news is that Antonio Brown can't keep his mouth shut. I mean, I don't get it. Before we even talk about what he said, well, I'll read you what he said. Now, Antonio Brown was kind enough to block the Behind the Steel Curtain Twitter feed from his Twitter feed himself. Yes, that's right. If you didn't follow us on Twitter, you can at BT Steel Curtain. And we've gotten the old, like, you watch Family Feud and the X come up. We got that. We've been blocked. AB84 blocked us. I don't know why. Maybe he's a little sensitive. But Lance, what are your thoughts on what are your thoughts on us getting blocked by Antonio Brown?
When people block you, it's just a sign that your analysis is probably spot on. And insecurity is a drug. Insecurity, jealousy, envy, those are all deadly sins. Those are drugs. And people that have that as part of their DNA coursing through their veins, it's more on them. So thank you at AB84 for officially blocking us. Thank you. I know we are saying the right and doing the right things. And maybe we've read you pretty clearly, because why would you worry about us? Like,
Seriously.
why would you? Like, you got the M's, you got the New Deal, you got the money, you got out of Pittsburgh. You're wearing palm tree sport coats at the Warrior game, looking like Miami Vice circa 1984. Life is good, or maybe it isn't, because when you're an insecure individual like Antonio Brown, there's a chasm, there's a hole that you can't fill, and there's no amount of money, there's no amount of accomplishment, nothing fills that hole. So there's something missing with AB. He's a bit off, needless to say.
You think? That might be the understatement of the year, that there's something a
No,
bit off about Antonio
no,
Brown.
Jess, no, Jess. You should have said obviously.
Very
That's
good.
the most obvious,
Yes. Yes,
most
yes, yes.
obvious
Man,
statement.
hey, it's the
Yeah,
off
yeah.
season, all right? Give me a break. I'm not in my mid-season Tomlinisms yet. But you know what? There's only one other player that has blocked our account recently, and that was Mike Mitchell. Mike Mitchell blocked us. And it's a pain in my butt because then I have to go if they tweet something, I have to go to my personal account and I have to get the tweet because they didn't block me personally. They just blocked the website's account. It's a lot of hoops to jump through. Have thicker
Jeff.
skin, guys. Come on.
So, Jeff, you said hoops. I know you're not a hoop fan. You're a big hockey fan, but in
I
true
am.
hoop style and hoops fashion, you can get your Kevin Durant on, because Kevin Durant
Oh,
has
the
multiple
burner, the
Twitter
burner.
accounts.
Yeah.
Exactly. He has the burner Twitter account. So just get the burner account, man. We all know. Well, I'm gonna just put you out there. One fit dad, block one fit dad again. So we can get we can get so Jeff can get double blocked. That'd
Yes.
be awesome. Be the
Yes.
first guy to get blocked twice by Antonio Brown at AB84, block Jeff twice. One fit dad.
Well, I still have my BNB Blitz one, so I'm good with that. So I have 3 that I could possibly use. So anyways, let's go over, my social media accounts aside. Here's what happened. For those that might not have been, it's Sunday, a lot of people weren't around their phones as much as other days of the week. If you're not sure, like, what really happened, here's the timeline. So, somebody, Steeler Steve, I don't know who Steeler Steve is, but he replied to Antonio Brown and the Raiders, I guess. I guess Antonio Brown said, I never saw that response because we were blocked. He just responded with the Steelers.com image of 2018 most valuable player, JuJu Smith-Schuster, and it was a picture of JuJu. And so Antonio Brown writes this, quote unquote, emotion. Boy fumbled the whole postseason in the biggest game of the year! Exclamation point. Everyone went blind, too busy making guys famous, not enough reality these days. By the way, check the list. In terms of the list, I don't know if he's talking about total MVPs won because Brown had won, I think, 4. I don't know if he means check the list regards to annual salary, which he has more. I'm not sure. But what was we talked about the Tomlinator, the translator last week. Please tell me what Antonio Brown is saying, other than the fact that we know that he's referring to the fumble against the Saints in last year's week 16 game. 15. What the
My
hell? What is
translation,
16?
my
16.
translation game is a little bit shaky as I get older. So when I hear check the list, I'm gonna think the money that I have
Right.
because on his Instagram feed, which you can't see.
Now, I can see Instagram. I've only been blocked
Oh
on
no, no, no.
Twitter.
Well, Twitter. On his Twitter, he posted a picture of him looking at his watch, saying, "When I point to my wrist this year, you know what time it is." So I'm assuming he's talking about money. One, because insecure people always point to the fact that they have more money than you. And the other thing would be probably like you said at the MVPs. I'm assuming that's what he's talking about. I have more MVPs than you. You're just getting started. Look at me, like he does with his Rolls Royce. That's why I pointed to the watch. So I'm going to put the watch, the Rolls Royce stuff, like look at me type stuff. So that's the watch, and the MVPs is the list. I think that's what he's talking about.
So he didn't tag Juju Smith-Schuster in this at all. He didn't say at Team Juju or anything like that. But someone must have sent this Juju's way. Or he just saw it because obviously he probably follows Antonio Brown up, and I guess Antonio Brown hasn't blocked him yet. And here was his response. And this is going to tie in perfectly to your, yeah, I said it. Was it this past week about Juju?
I think it was a couple weeks ago. Yeah, Juju
Okay.
gets it right.
Okay.
Juju
So,
gets
but
it right.
I'm going to give you a chance to time it. Here's what Juju responds with. He says, crazy how big that ego got to be taking shots at people who show you love. SMH, shaking my head. All I ever did was show that man love and respect from the moment I got to the league. I was genuinely happy for him too when he got traded to Oakland with a big contract, and now he takes shots at me on social media. And my favorite, the knockout punch for me. Ow! Keep your emotions off the internet. Yes, that was like a Juju Vontaze Burfict social media pow. Knock him out.
And he tweeted the same thing that Antonio Brown tweeted. I think the Steelers Steve when Antonio Brown tweeted, "Keep your emotions off the internet." Juju gets it. I mean, Juju gets it. Juju knows how to play the social media game because I don't think it's as emotional for Juju. I think Juju just finally had to respond. But if I were advising Juju, and I think Juju spoke to it. I can't remember. I'm trying to find the Twain response. Essentially, it's when you're arguing a fool with a fool. It's impossible to tell who's who.
I did see
That's
that.
that's the gist of it. That's the only thing I would say to Juju. I think Juju put Antonio Brown in his place with these tweets. I would hope that the two gentlemen reach out to each other on the phone and not do this over social media. But I think Juju gets it in the sense that I don't think Juju will say anything else.
No, let's leave it. Just let it go.
He's going to leave it. And the only thing that I would say to Juju moving forward, or if I could advise him in this situation, would be no oxygen. Just no oxygen.
Yeah.
I've been living by. I told the story about my grad school experience going to Climax One or Climax Two.
Climax 2. It's
Uh,
Climax 2.
Climax Two is two. You get two for the price of one. And so, I mean, it's just no oxygen. You can't give insecure people oxygen. You can't give idiots oxygen. They live off of that. They live off of your energy. They're leeches. They're energy leeches. You can't give them any oxygen or any energy. You essentially want to box them into an empty room where they're actually yelling at themselves. So everybody can take a step back and say, man, that guy's an idiot. That's what you want to do with idiots that mouth off and do stuff like Antonio Brown, who are clearly insecure. You want to let them isolate themselves and put the spotlight on themselves. You step away and uh, you look the classy, intelligent, more mature individual. And I'm sure Juju is going to step back and do that. But I feel him cracking back like, look, man, I'm a grown man. You can't take so many shots at me. Look, I'm a crack back. You know, it'll be interesting to see what the conversation is when they see
Yeah.
each other. That's all I
Now
gotta
this is interesting here. This is starting to have a ripple effect. I think that most players supported Antonio Brown because they knew that the trend he was setting could impact them in some way, shape, or form. The fact that he got out of his contract, got new money, got guaranteed money, got big money. People, I think players looked at that as a loophole. Owners were concerned. They still are concerned about how that went down. I was interested to see Justin Reed, safety for the Texans, second year player. He quote tweeted Antonio Brown's emotion tweet about the boy fumbled the whole game, the whole postseason away with this. He said, I respect his game, referring to Antonio Brown, but I can't wait to smash this dude. No need for that. That's new. Now he's a young player and he doesn't really understand. I mean, he might probably doesn't have the connections with Antonio Brown as maybe some of the veteran players do. But I think some players might be viewing this as okay, man. Like, and this is going to be my next question. Hopefully, it's our last talking point on this for the day. Is why, in your opinion, is Antonio Brown still talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers, man? He got what he wanted. He got that money. He got the bag, as we talked about in the past. He got the money, the guarantees, all this stuff. Why is he still talking about the Steelers?
He's empty, Jeff. I mean, there's something, it feels as if there's something empty in him. Like I said before, the guy, to me, from the outside, I don't know the individual, obviously. I love saying obviously, but he just feels like he's a very insecure man. Like something is missing. There's a gap somewhere. There's a void somewhere, and nothing can fill it. Even if it's 100% adoration from the fans, it's money, it's the world telling him he's the greatest, he's the best. Nothing is filling that hole, and because of that insecurity, he needs attention. So he's seeking ways to get attention. He just needs and craves that spotlight because he's insecure and because something is missing. And that's why he continues to talk, in my opinion. And interestingly enough, Tomlin's response was, I don't have any comments on ex Steelers. Like, I'm not giving you any comment, any oxygen. We're moving forward. I have no time for this.
I agree with everything you said. Follow up. If you're Jon Gruden, if you're the Oakland Raiders, are you picking up the phone and saying, "Hey, AB, let's leave the Steelers talk some other time"? Is it you making that comment or what?
I think I am. I'm like, look, honestly, I'm pulling the guy aside, just like, with Le'Veon Bell. And I've texted Le'Veon Bell. I've texted AB. I mean, you guys can go look through, my Twitter feed. Not text her. I sent them a tweet. Like, look, young fellas, concentrate on on performing for your new employer. That's it. Concentrate on that. Because if you're not giving the Jets or the Raiders your 100% full attention, then you are not fulfilling the terms of your contract. You have a new team, focus on that and move forward. None of this, none of what you're doing can aid you in doing that task. Move forward and focus on the future. Simple.
Yeah. Simple to the common man. It's not simple to Antonio Brown.
No, unfortunately, no, it is not.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, you know what? Here's the thing. I titled this When JuJu Finally Shut Up AB. And we had a little discussion about that headline. You wanted to go a different route. I was the one that was typing it in, so I went with mine because I was typing it in. And you said you said let's talk about it. So do you think JuJu put the kibosh, put the smack down, whatever you want to call it, on Antonio Brown? Do you think he finally shut him up?
Absolutely not. And this is the reason why. 100% no. This is the reason why. And it goes to, and here's the Twain quote: never argue with a fool. Onlookers may not be able to tell the difference. AB is a fool. He's a buffoon. He's an insecure buffoon. They don't act logically. If you were dealing with a person who made sound, logical decisions and reacted in a non emotional fashion and wasn't insecure, you could say, I, yeah, he got me. I'm going to fall back. I'm not going to do this. No. AB will go away for the next 3 or 4 days. He'll react emotionally to somebody saying, JuJu sunned you. He sunned you. Son, he made you look like a little boy, son. Then he'll react emotionally on Twitter. You know it's coming in 5, 4, 3, 2. Is the tweet out yet?
Not yet. Well, I wouldn't know. I'm
Oh,
blocked.
You're blocked. You're blocked. That's right. That's right. That's right. You've been stonewalled. You've been goaltended.
Yes, absolutely. It's really interesting. And my last question, and I said that 2 questions ago, but my mind is just it runs wild sometimes. We have seen as Steeler fans a lot of players leave. Some of them leave on bad terms. My question is, Antonio Brown had a remarkable career in Pittsburgh. 9 years that at least 6 of those years are some of the best 6 years that have ever been had in the National Football League history. When he retires, will all be forgiven, or do you think this lingers? Because Pittsburgh fans hate this guy right now. He makes Le'Veon Bell and his horrible rap career. I'm going to try to say that somehow every single show. I'm going to try to reference how bad Le'Veon Bell is as a rapper every single show. I'm going to slide it in there at some point. There, I just got mine in I filled my quota. But how is he going to be? He makes Le'Veon Bell look like a saint now. Are fans going to be like, yeah, you're never welcome back here? Is all going to be forgiven a few years down the road?
Let's just say anybody who left under controversial issues or a cloud, they're cheering Antonio Brown on. He's the turd of all turds because he's going to continue talking. Like I said, like I can foresee he'll have a big game in a regular season. He'll catch 4 touchdowns. JuJu will have like 1 reception for 20 yards, and he'll tweet something. Yeah, I thought he was your MVP. He won't leave it alone.
Right.
He won't leave it alone. So he's going to keep stoking the fire with dumb stuff throughout the rest of his NFL career because that's the type of individual he is. He's petty and small. No. He will be an absolute turd. He will never be invited for the Steelers Legend Brunch.
Well, it's funny because last year or 2 years ago, it was James Harrison. Remember when was it 2 years ago or was it last year? 2 years ago.
I think it was 2 years ago when he walked out of
When
Cincinnati.
he walked out, no. When he walked out, he figured out, I'm done. He went to New England. Everyone said, oh my gosh, he's dead to me, blah, blah, blah. He comes back for the Super Bowl 40 43, yes, the 43 anniversary this past year. He
Right,
was
right.
cheered. Then, as we said last week, he goes on FS1 and supports Ben Roethlisberger, and everyone's like, "We love us some Debo again."
Debo's the man. But see, he's smart. See, Debo's smart, right? Debo played the media game. He knew if I get behind Ben Roethlisberger, look, everybody will love me. Debo's smart.
Yep.
I don't. Antonio Brown doesn't strike me as being smart or very media savvy. And Antonio Brown, Debo doesn't strike me as being insecure. It all stems from insecurity. This guy is insecure. It comes from an insecure core. So he's going to react emotionally. Debo was just like, look, man, I'm tired of this, man. I wanted to play. I'm out.
Yeah.
And you always got a sense that Debo kept it real. He kept it 100% real on both sides of it. And you don't get a sense of genuineness from Antonio Brown. He just comes off as fake, petty, and insecure, and he's going to keep digging in. So he's not going to give the fan base a time to say, yeah, AB's gone. The only thing that will resurrect AB's image in Pittsburgh will be if the Steelers win a Super Bowl and AB goes out with the torn MCL. Then Steeler fans might love AB.
You mean Mr. Big Chest?
Mr. Big Chest, Mr. Empty Chest. That's probably what it is. We all know that the chest is empty and we're seeing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, our live chat is pretty well, it was pretty crazy. It's kind of calmed down now. Nick Hancock uses the super chat feature. He wants you, Lance, to be a guest on our Thursday show, the Steelers preview, to talk about some of this stuff. Um, I'm gonna try. I'm not speaking for Lance. I'm gonna try on the first round of the NFL draft. I'm gonna try to do the super show. Just like 30 minutes, the Steelers make their pick. We get everyone on the air and we talk about the pick. So that might be it. That might be it. I don't know if you'd be down with that, Lance. It
Yeah,
would
I'm down with that.
it
I
would
don't
be it would be late on the East Coast, but for you it would be just, like regular time.
I'm down to join. I don't know college players, but I'd be
Uh,
down to join.
You can speak on the process, whether they should have traded up. If they did trade up, did they give up? You can speak on that. You can speak on positional where they
Yes,
take the
yes,
position. You can speak on were there other positions and players that you thought could have been better. We can talk it out because
yes, yes. We can get there.
you and I both are not draft nicks. We don't
Not at all.
follow. I wrote an article today, my letter from the editor about how I love the NFL draft. I really do. The actual event itself. I think it's crazy how you just don't know what's going to happen. Someone takes a guard when everyone thought they were going to take a wide receiver or a quarterback, and it throws everything off. Or you get that big trade up, or there's just so much stuff that can happen. I can't stand the lead up to it. I can't stand all the mock drafts. I can't stand how everyone thinks that Mel Kiper and Todd McShay actually have any freaking clue what these teams are going to do. But you know what? I don't know. I do
Where is it
love
at this year? Is it in
it's in
Tennessee?
Nashville, yeah, which would
Ah,
be.
ah,
I've never been to Nashville, but I know a lot of people that have. They say it's an awesome place. It would be a great place to go and check that
some
out.
good barbecue.
Yeah,
Get to
absolutely.
barbecue sauce. Lick it off your fingers. It'd be great.
Go in and
But
check.
that, but that, but that might mess up your box jump. Jeff is probably a guy that can box jump. You can box jumps 36 inches, right?
I could easily do 36 inches. Yeah, yeah. I don't
See,
want to get into all this. Okay.
see.
This is my Steeler stuff. My fitness stuff is another part of my life. Let's focus on the Steeler stuff. So, all right, hey, you asked me a question, and it was actually an article I wrote today. I'm not sure if you saw the article, and that is then we're definitely shifting gears here. We're downshifting on the train that is the standard is the standard. Um, who's going to be the Steelers' number 2 wide receiver in 2019 was the question you asked. What let's look at who could potentially be in that role. You have James Washington, Dante Moncrief. I'm going to eliminate Ryan Switzer and Eli Rogers. You may disagree. I think they're strictly slot receivers. And then we assume they're going to draft a receiver. We don't know how high or what type of receiver they're drafting. But Lance, when you hear this question, what is your immediate reaction?
When I hear the question, I say to myself, why did I say receiver? I should have said or a wide receiver. I should have just said receiver, because when I think about it, I don't think any of these guys will be the number two option. To be
You're
honest,
you
I
think
don't think it'll
James
be Moncrief. Yeah, I
James
don't think.
Conner?
No, I think it'll be Vance McDonald. I think Vance
Really?
McDonald will be the number two option. Like he won't get 90 receptions, but I could see him in the 75 range, averaging 11 to 12 yards per catch, somewhere around there. Flirting with maybe 1,000 yards receiving. I think I could see that. I could see him being the number two guy, really attacking and threatening defenses up the seams. I mean, from a physical perspective and a physical standpoint, he might be one of the best athletes on the team. And as the receiving threats, him and Dante Moncrief might be the best athletes that are tight ends and wide receivers. And we all saw the play that he did in Tampa Bay, and we all see. I mean, he's a freak of nature. I mean, so I think it's going to be Vance McDonald. I mean, even so, even if you don't get 75 catches, I think he can stretch the field, get a lot of bang for your buck. I think it's Vance McDonald.
Yeah, I could see it. I just don't know. I guess it also, how do you label a number two receiver? Are you talking about just the number two option on most plays? Are you talking about statistics of having the second most receptions and or yards in on the team? How are you deciphering what a true number two receiver is?
I mean, I guess if you look at JuJu, I mean, the second best receiving threat coupled with production. I mean, if you look at JuJu's numbers, JuJu had what, close to 100 catches and, over what, 1,200 yards receiving. I mean, that's a number too. So it's ability, productivity, and, it's a combination of those two. So if you look at so if you look at teams, what would have been the team like a John Taylor. I might be dating myself, but you had Jerry Rice, you had John Taylor.
Hmm.
John Taylor was an absolute vicious number two. Wasn't good enough to be a number one, but if you disrespected him and put your number three, number four corner on him, he was going to kill him. He was going to absolutely murder him and put up ridiculous numbers. So that number two guy is the guy that's not as good as the number one person. He doesn't necessarily dictate coverage or dictate double coverage, but that number two is good enough to rip anybody else other than the top corner on that team. And so, from a physical perspective on the Steelers, I think it's Vance. Unfortunately, I don't think it's any of the wide receivers because I think those guys are 3 and 4 guys. When you look at the two slot guys, and you look at Moncrief, and you look at James Washington, I don't think any of those guys can fit the number two role because the number two role was defined as JuJu Smith-Schuster last year. And I don't think any of us think those guys will have the same type of season or impact as JuJu.
Well, no, probably not, especially from a yardage standpoint. But to me, when I wrote the article today, and I wrote this well before we were obviously talking about it on the show, I said I thought it could be that there is no real number two receiver, that there is not one guy that falls behind. Well, let's all agree that Juju is going to be the number one. I don't think there's going to be one guy. I think it's going to be a mix of all of them. It's going to be Moncrief and Washington on the outside. I think Juju is going to be the versatile one that they can move around. Vance McDonald, like you mentioned, maybe Xavier Grimble as another tight end, James Conner out of the backfield, Jalen Samuels out of the backfield. This offense could be so ridiculously prolific, and it wasn't prolific in the past. It seemed, especially in the past 2 seasons, it seemed forced. Now, Lance, you might disagree with me, but it seemed forced. It seemed like number 84, he had to get his touches. And even if the offense was grooving, you would see if Antonio Brown only had one catch and a half, you knew what was going to happen in the second half. They're going to come out and they're going to throw the ball to Antonio Brown because they don't want a pity party on the sideline. You agree with that? Yes or no?
Not necessarily, that he would get upset. It's just he was so vicious. It just made sense that you target him.
Yeah, but you
Well,
don't have to force it to him. That's what they did so often. They forced it. There's a difference between getting it to him when he's open and shoving the ball down his throat when he's covered.
Yeah, but like Ben Roethlisberger said, and a lot of quarterbacks say, even when my guy is covered, he's open. I mean, that's that belief and that faith that quarterbacks have with their top receiving targets. But I want to go back to your point of multiple number twos, and I want to ask you: is it like the old quarterback adage? If you have two quarterbacks, you don't have a quarterback. It's kind of like I might have got that wrong. Where if you have multiple starting quarterbacks, you don't have a quarterback at all.
Yeah,
Is that
I've heard a similar stuff. I'm not sure if that's the right one, but I get what you're saying.
yeah? I kill cliches. I'm,
and
I'm a
and
cliche. I'm a
you
cliche murderer.
you're a cliche killer as well as a name
Yeah,
killer. You can't pronounce anyone's name. Anyways, uh, I don't agree with that at all because I think if you look around the NFL today, you see a lot of offenses that might have multiple threats that no one is that huge. Okay, let's talk about that team up north. Okay, you have Julian Edelman. Is he considered a number one wide receiver? I mean, really? Let's be honest. Is he a
no,
legit? No, he's not. Who's
not at
next?
all.
Who's next?
It was Hogan, not at all.
Or it was Gronk.
Well, it was when Gronk was rolling. It was Gronk.
Well, it was, but in past years, there is no number one. Okay, so let's look at the Rams, the other team that was in the Super Bowl. Who's their superstar wide receiver?
I think it was Cooper Cup. Wasn't Connor Cup Cooper Cup?
Cooper Cup got hurt; he tore his knee up. But so you have Brandon Cooks.
No, Brandon Cook was their number one. Absolutely,
Brandon Cooks is
Brandon Cook's a
not.
monster.
He's not a number one. No, he's not.
Well, he's a 1.5. Brandon Cook's a monster.
Okay. All right. So what I'm
He,
trying to say is that I don't think in today's NFL you have to have that superstar guy. It helps. I'm not saying it's bad, but I don't think you need that Antonio Brown, that DeAndre Hopkins, that Julio Jones. I don't think you need that guy. If you have multiple weapons that can do their job, I think that you're fine.
I agree. I agree that a wide receiver's value is overvalued in the National Football League. I agree. The most
Yeah.
valuable position on the football team, obviously, is the quarterback position. So I think wide receivers are overvalued. But I will say this: at times, you need a guy to be able to make a play when your game plan is not working, when the defense has your number, when you just need a play to be made, and you have a guy that can beat scheme, beat coverage, beat game plan, and that guy can make that play, you love to have that guy. And the Patriots had that guy with Gronkowski,
Right.
and they had that guy with the quarterback. So they
Right.
had the quarterback that he could make that play by dissecting defenses and making accurate throws in the pocket consistently like a robot. Then, if none of that was working, they had a guy and a monster in Gronk that could beat double coverages when the defense had the call completely right. And sometimes you need that guy. But in terms of wide receivers, there have been numerous teams that have won championships that did not have a dominant number one wide receiver. Wide receivers are overvalued. In the Twitter world, they aren't, but in the real football world, they absolutely are.
When I go to bed at night, sometimes I say my prayers and I say maybe this year when the Steelers need a play, like a big first down. You know what they'll do? Maybe just maybe, in my dreams, they'll rely on their jacked up offensive line and their young stud running back, and they'll just hand the ball off. Go do your thing, James Conner. Go get us a big run. That guy rips off 20-yard runs like crazy, man. Maybe in my dreams, they will start running the ball more, and they won't rely on Ben Roethlisberger as much as he's in the waning parts of his career. Maybe in my dreams they do, and they're successful. It's balance. My favorite word, balance.
No, in your dreams, you're thinking about 50-inch box jumps. Like, yes, you can jump 50 inches on my box jump.
Man, you're sounding like Antonio Brown right now on Twitter, so let's calm that stuff down. Okay.
Okay.
Let's speaking of receivers, speaking of quarterbacks, speaking of Ben Roethlisberger, you wanted to talk about my burning question from this past week, which was who is as more pressure on them to succeed in 2019? Is it Mike Tomlin, the head coach, or Ben Roethlisberger, the franchise quarterback? Go ahead, Lance, chime in. I did an entire show dedicated to this. You can always go back and check it out on YouTube or on our audio platforms. I said it was Mike Tomlin. Do you agree or do you disagree?
Yeah, I agree. It's Tomlin, and I think it comes down to. I loved all the points that you brought out, but I think it just comes down to the fact that the quarterback's irreplaceable. Coaches can be replaced. I mean, you can find coaches. You may not find good coaches, but you can find different coaches. You can't really replace Ben Roethlisberger, not at this point. There's so much investment in him over the last several years. Colbert's comments, the Super Bowl appearances, the Super Bowl wins. He's an iconic figure in Pittsburgh. He's protected by the Pittsburgh media. They cover all flanks. I mean, you just can't get rid of Ben Roethlisberger. So Ben Roethlisberger is entrenched and he's about to get a new contract. Mike Tomlin, on the other hand, I think all flanks are exposed. If they don't win again, I think he'll be on the hot seat. I don't think he'll be out. But the one thing I think that is going to protect Mike Tomlin, so I think more pressure's under Tomlin. I think the thing that's going to protect Mike Tomlin, and this goes to the inflammatory article that came out earlier this week on Bleacher Report that talked about the relationship between Aaron Rodgers and Mike
Oof,
McCarthy.
man,
I mean,
that
that was
stuff. Yikes.
wow. That was a scorcher piece. I mean, wow. It get. I mean, wow. Like the guys upstairs doing meetings, getting massages. Like wow. Shiatsu during the final breakdown of the game plan.
Do you think that
Ooh,
it's the same massage parlor as up north?
I don't want to speculate on that. I don't.
Climax 2,
I
is
don't.
that what it's called?
Deep tissue. I don't want to speculate on that. The article said that coaches have infamously have bad backs. So I'm going to believe what the author said. He had to get some kinks worked out. But I think what Mike Tomlin has done expertly and why I think Mike Tomlin will be the coach moving forward is from all we know out of the locker room and outside of the organization, his relationship with Ben Roethlisberger is airtight. And that might have been the smartest thing that he did. And just knowing that me and my quarterback need to be tight. I got a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I'm going to hitch my whack into him. We're going to have a solid relationship. I'm not going to rip you. You're not going to rip me. We're going to be hook and step in this. We're going to be a partnership in this, and we're going to try to win some football games. And I don't think I've ever heard Ben come out and rip Tomlin. I don't think I've ever heard Tomlin rip Ben or take Ben to task in a press conference. Whatever beefs and stuff that they have, they do not air them in public. It's behind closed doors. And these guys are just in hook and step. So, given the great relationship between those two, if it truly is, that will be why Mike Tomlin remains the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, while Ben Roethlisberger is the quarterback. But I do agree that more pressure will be under Tomlin for the reasons that I said.
Yeah, I agree with you. And especially the relationship with Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, I read that you sent me that article about McCarthy and Rodgers, and just when you thought it was bad in Pittsburgh, yikes.
Yeah, that's bad. Like,
Yikes.
wow. Like you really think like I really stepped away from that article and I say, look, hey, there needs to be security if them dudes see each other. Like that article looks like that's like McCarthy might be grabbing a chair and trying to crack that guy over the back of his head. Like that
I
sounds
mean,
bad.
changing the plays on purpose and take getting the call and just calling your own play. Could you imagine? Oh my gosh, we're talking multi-million-dollar industry just flying on
And
the seat of your pants.
and he called the guy a dullard.
What a
He said
what a great
he,
word.
he called the guy a dullard, a coward. He called the guy a dullard and said he had the lowest football IQ ever of anyone who coached him. I mean, those are damning things. And he hit the needle. He's needling him in areas in which will impact him getting another job. Lazy and dumb, and has an antiquated offense. I mean, I don't know how he could hit McCarthy even harder than he did, but that just speaks to the relationship of Ben Roethlisberger and Mike Tomlin. They do not whack themselves. They don't do it.
Right.
That's his guy. That's his guy, and he rides for his guy till the wheels fall off.
Yeah, and so here's my next, and it'll be the last question that we have here to the end of the show. It's been a good one so far. In my opinion, and I want to hear your opinion before I give mine. You look at the team turmoil stuff, the drama with the NFL draft coming up. You think the Steelers, not should they, but do you think they have or will put character pretty high on their priority list when looking at prospects just because of what they've been through the past 3 years? Now, I don't know. I can't, I wasn't, I guess I wasn't as embroiled in it as I am now to be able to tell you what it was like when Antonio Brown was going into the draft. No one would have known, okay, this guy was a clown at Central Michigan. Now, Martavis Bryant, that's a different story. He had issues in college at Clemson, and those issues resurfaced in Pittsburgh. Le'Veon Bell, never heard too much negative stuff about him. But I guess my question is with the draft coming up, does this impact like the prospects that they're looking at? Okay, we don't need another AB. We don't need another L Bell that's gonna try to hold this team hostage. What are your thoughts? I see what you just typed to me.
Hell
Maybe
no.
so. Okay. Uh,
Hell no. You know what's going to impact their decision? The excuse me. I almost said that team up north. They just got their sixth championship. That team up north is going to impact their decision. H to the E double hockey sticks? No. Now, they're obviously not going to draft a guy that's a complete turd who has multiple arrests
AB's
on his.
cousin. AB's cousin.
Well, I don't think they're going to do that.
Why not? If it's all about talent, why not?
Well, if they do that, they're going to absolutely do their research. But what I will say is, I don't think they like the taste in their mouth of not being in the playoffs, and I don't think they like the taste in their mouth of that team up north with the six championships. So I think it's character be damned, and they're going to go for guys that can, with a ton of talent, that can get the Steelers back in a position to win the seventh championship. And the kicker to it all is fans kind of care, but they really don't. If they draft a turd that breaks Tom Brady's back and he fumbles and somebody scoops it up for the win in the AFC Championship and they go on to win a Super Bowl, he'll be the turd that we love that year, and he'll be the turd that we don't like the following year. So, I mean, I don't know if the Steelers are too concerned with that. They want talented football players. Character be damned.
Well, if you look at the past few draft classes, though, I feel like they've been able to find the happy median with both. You think about a guy like T.J. Watt, hell of a player, high character guy. JuJu Smith-Schuster, hell of a player, high character guy. James Conner. This is all from the same freaking draft class. Hell of a player, high character guy. And so you can even go into last year's draft class. Terrell Edmonds was considered a very high character individual. James Washington is a farmer. I'm not making that up. He's an actual farmer, and he just is super quiet and just wants to play this game, make a lot of money, and then he wants to go back and continue farming. I think that while they're not going to ignore talent because they might be a turd, as you put it, not me, your words, not mine. There is, I've said turd on this show a million times. There is a way to find both, to find high character guys that are also really good football players. I don't think there is any chance that they would even. Gosh, could you imagine if they drafted Antonio Brown's cousin from
That'd
Oklahoma?
be great.
No, it wouldn't.
That'd be great.
No, it wouldn't. I don't want anything to do with that. I don't
He's
want
a
anything
great
to do with
player. He's a great player. I'd be all for it. Hey, let's do it. And I hope James
Well, I
Washington.
know why you're doing it. You want them because it's going to give us something to talk about. It's that's why
Hey man,
you have an ulterior motive.
hey man, I'm a bit selfish. I mean, hey, I mean, hey, I'm a bit selfish as well. I mean, James Washington is a farmer. I hope he doesn't catch a hoe. Hope he doesn't do that.
Uh, with that being said, I think that's a good spot to end. Lance, is there anything you want to say to the fan base before we go ahead and call it a show?
No, I think this was a good one, Jeff. This is good. Thank you, AB. I want to say that.
Yes,
I'm at
absolutely.
Big Swall. I think I'm at BTC underscore radio. So AB, if you're catching the show or anybody in your orbit catches the show, hey man, block me too. I want to be honor me with blocking me, so I can tell people that you block me. That's what
Yeah,
I want to
that's
be able
right.
to do. I
That's
think it's
right.
a badge of honor, Jeff. I mean, it sounds like you have 3 Twitter burner accounts, so maybe you can get them all blocked. The trifecta, the triblocta.
Well, Le'Veon Bell, I could really attack his rap game, and maybe that would get me blocked because it's awful. I just said it twice. I brought this horrible rapping twice in the show. I'm waiting. Have you heard any of it? I mean, you're a rap enthusiast. You are the
No, no, no,
you haven't
no.
heard any
That's
of it.
why I haven't. That's why I have not heard it.
Well, please listen so that you can at least tell me
I
that I'm
can't do it.
right. Say,
I can't do it.
Jeff, you're right. It's so bad. I just want you to, I want you to validate my thoughts.
I already know you're right. He's a running back for the Jets.
Did you see those uniforms? What were your
Those
thoughts on that?
when teams have to change uniforms, they're bad.
But no, what do you?
They're bad.
I get that, but what did you think of the uniforms? Like, did you think they look cool?
I don't think about the Jets. I don't know.
Oh my
They're
gosh,
green and gold.
you saw them, right? It's a oh those are
No,
cool or those aren't cool. I mean that's your answer.
I'm gonna say I don't know. I didn't see him. I didn't see him at all. Uh,
For me, I actually thought they were atrocious. How do you get rid of the How do you get rid of the classic Jets look that was like the name it? Like how do you get away from that? That's when you go back there. How do you leave that? That's what I don't get. I don't know.
the Richie Kotite uniforms were terrible. They got to be better than those. Those Kotite uniforms doing when Kotite was the coach, those were these are horrible. They look like CFL uniforms. These are terrible.
It's kind of the Green Hornet like May the helmets are it's not like the Boomer Esiason when he played for the Jets a few years
Yeah,
green
that was
or
terrible.
the Dennis
Yeah, the
Bird
classic
Jets.
ones, the Joe Namath ones are classic.
Someone wrote in the live chat Jets changed uniforms to go 5-11.
They might change uniforms to hide the fact that they're actually the Jets. So when they go 5-11, people won't really realize that's the Jets.
Yeah, I don't know. The only other news is Morgan Burnett's now a member of the Cleveland Browns, so you have that going for you. Another is that a
Hey, you know what I
is that
told
a candy bar over there? Is that a candy bar I see over there?
you? Almond joy, baby. That's an almond joy. That's an almond joy.
Hey,
Oh,
Antonio,
look at these.
what's
I'm
that?
looking at these. These are awful. The all black ones are
They
terrible.
have all black
These are
ones? I didn't see the all black. I
yeah,
saw the white and the green.
they got all black ones with a green stripe on the pants that look like it looks like a color rush jersey that's actually their jersey.
Hmm.
That's actually their regular uniform and not a color. These are bad. These are bad. I'm not a proponent. I don't like white pants either. These are bad. But not as bad as that new Steelers draft hat, which is absolutely
Oh,
terrible.
boy, is that
Which means
awful.
which means I love it. I love ugly Steeler hats, so I probably will be purchasing one of those, and you'll see it on my head for that draft Thursday.
Hold on. Time out. Time out. You just said that they're awful, and I agreed with you that they're awful. I know that they tried to
Oh,
take the city emblem with the checkers and put it on the hat, and you go and say that you're going to buy one. Who does? Yeah, there it is. If you can't see it on YouTube, Lance, say something, then hold that up. You gotta say something.
yes, this is the city flag. You see the crest, Fort Pitt. Yes, awesome.
Okay, so there's for those the live on YouTube, you saw it. But why would you pay the $30+ for that hideous hat?
I just like ugly hats. I mean, they tend to be unique. Like nobody buys them. You have a unique hat because it's ugly. You can rock an ugly hat. I mean, I like ugly hats. I have a green Steeler hat. For all get out, which is absolutely atrocious.
So when you buy the hat, there's multiple options for buying the hat. What is your hat? Do you go fitted? You go snapback, flat bill? Do you actually curve your bill? What's your style?
I like the those what is it, those 738 hats that are fitted, but
Yep.
it's stretchy fitted.
So flex fit.
Flex fit. I like those. That's my thing.
You a flat bill guy?
No, not at all. I'm too old for flat bill.
Yeah, I can't stand that.
I'm
Bend your
too old
bill.
for flat bill.
I'm an old hey, I'm a baseball player. My coach used to tell me you look like a ball player. You wear a hat on your head, you look like you gotta bend that bill. You gotta bend
Yeah,
it.
I'm of that age group. Bent bill. I'm not flat. I can't do that. I look weird.
I didn't know if you were the snapback, to the side a little bit. I don't know how you roll out there on the West Coast. It's
But
different life out there.
I mean, like, but there's scientific fact though. I think it's for right-handers. The
Lefties, no,
right-handers
it's lefties.
that they can't put their hat on straight, right?
Yeah, if
Like,
you look at watch baseball, if you see a left-handed pitcher, his hat will be a little bit crooked.
yeah, to be slightly tilted. Yeah,
But don't look at CC Sabathia because that idiot wears it almost to the side on purpose.
yeah, no, I don't do that. Nah, but definitely, I'm not. I'm not straight bib. I'm definitely a little curved. But actually, with the flex fits, they come little bent already. You don't have to really do
Well,
much to them.
what a great way to end the show. Talking about hats. So, okay, folks, if you're listening or you're watching, remember, follow us on YouTube, search BTSC Steelers Radio, subscribe. We are almost at 2,100. Almost there, Lance. And I want to let the fans know that we are going to be going live after the rounds are done, every round. So we're going to have live show after round one, live show after rounds 2 and 3, and then obviously 4 through 7. I'm not sure by 4 through 7, I might be by myself, but that's okay. I'll still be there. And so we'll be live on YouTube for those. And then on our audio platforms, anywhere where you download podcasts, make sure you just search Steelers, BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, whatever it is. Lance is typing it in. Tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe. There it is. Lance, thank you for your time, my friend. I know Sundays are tough sometimes, but all the people that tuned in on the live chat, always appreciate your time. It's a nice little community there. We'll see you next time for another episode of The Standard is the Standard.